as time went on, I just started to enjoy it less and less.
Right.
And I can't quite put my finger on why, but the spark wasn't there, the enjoyment wasn't there, and mentally I felt like I wasn't there.
Right.
And mentally, when you're not present in something, physically you're not 100% present. And you said to him that ultimately I was going to get a professional contract.
Yeah.
I don't think I was.
Right. So welcome guys to our first series and the first episode that we're recording when it comes to the Archive podcast. I have a very special guest on today, and I think in my perspective one of the most inspiring stories that I heard, right? When I first met Kyle and when I had the opportunity to work and mentor Kyle, but not only that, when we thought his story was getting exciting, there was another level that he took it to, which I think surpassed everybody's expectations of what we expected. Something we'll dip into a little bit later. But I know more of you, but for the viewers that don't know you, if you could give us a little bit of an introduction, Kyle, into yourself, who you are, what do you do, and we'll develop our conversation from there.
Yeah, perfect. Firstly, Tim, thank you so much for having me on. I really do appreciate it. So for those who don't know me, my name is Cooke. I'm 20 years old. I do social media. I've got a following of over 500,000 across TikTok and Instagram. Originally as a kid, grew up wanting to be a professional footballer, worked extremely hard to work towards that. And then when lockdown came, I started to do a little bit of social media, documenting my journey to become a professional footballer. And then there came a certain point where I had a decision to make, and a decision that to step away from football, but to continue to do social media, and ultimately it's worked out. Luckily, it could have went either way. But now I'm doing social media. I've got a lot going on. I've inspired kids all around the world. It's been good, but it definitely hasn't been easy. But no, I've definitely made a bad situation into an amazing one.
Absolutely. And going into that, right, because I think from people looking on the outside, especially myself, right, at that time, when you made the decision to walk away from football, essentially, it was a situation where you were going to get a professional contract, essentially, and you made the decision to change from that, right? Very bold, very brave decision. I thought, amongst many people, that you made the wrong decision, and that you were going to go down the wrong road, but you definitely surprised us. But one of the things that I will say, as much as I was surprised about that, I'm not surprised at where you are today, right? Because when we had a chance to work together, one of the things that I always said was your mindset. Your mindset is different, and I knew you could reach the heights in anything that you do. So for me, when it was the football side, I thought, this kid can go and play Champions League. This kid can go and be one of the best keepers in the world. Just because of your application, but the mental side of things, your mindset was incredible. On the back of everything that we done, but just the base that you had was incredible, and your work ethic, right? So talk to me a little bit about that journey, right? Because how does a kid go from loving something so much to then deciding it's not for me anymore? And you dedicated so much time to that.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I always knew I was different.
Yeah.
In school, when I went into secondary school, my first year in secondary school, I was the most popular kid around. I had loads and loads of friends. But then when I turned to 14, I really decided that I needed to kind of knuckle down and make a change, because I knew I had it mentally, but physically then I needed to start working. And that's what I'd done. I lost a lot of friends. And nobody would be my friend because I was so different. I wouldn't go to the cinema. I wouldn't go out to the shop after school. I'd go back home and I'd be training. So I've always knew I was different. And then I loved football growing up. I played locally, won Player of the Year. Went into League of Ireland, playing for Wexford for 2 years, won Player of the Year.
Right.
First year, the second year, I was nominated for Player of the Year. Moved to Waterford. And I think as time went on, I just started to enjoy it less and less.
Right.
And I can't quite put my finger on why, but the spark wasn't there. The enjoyment wasn't there, and mentally I felt like I wasn't there.
Right.
And mentally, when you're not present in something, physically you're not 100% present. And you said to him that ultimately I was going to get a professional contract. I don't think I was.
Right.
I really don't think I was, and that's why I took that step away. I truly believe that you need to have a spark in something. You need to have a drive and a will to achieve something.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I didn't have that for, I'd say, about 13, 14 months.
Wow.
And that's what a lot of people don't know. That's what a lot of people don't see.
Yeah.
They just see a kid that had a lot of potential, but I had the potential. But if your head isn't in it, there's no point in trying to pursue something that ultimately wasn't going to happen because I mentally wasn't there.
There for it, yeah, right.
Exactly.
And seeing those periods, right, because it's an interesting one that you say that, right, because people don't know. We wouldn't know. Like you saying this to me now that for 13 odd months you weren't there. To me, it's like, wow. You know, we thought it was a situation where it's a couple of days, a couple of weeks, or a month or two. In that period, did you talk to anybody about that, or you know, did you keep it all to yourself?
No, I definitely talked to people about it, especially my mum. There'd be training sessions, games, or I'd come home crying. I was a very emotional kid.
Right.
I still feel like I'm quite emotional. My dad, you know, ever since I was 12, we kind of haven't really spoken. So it's been tough not having a kind of father figure there to kind of almost toughen me up a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's been, you know, a lot of times where I have shown that emotion, especially after a training sessions, games where I don't quite enjoy it or I'm after making mistakes. And then over that 13, 14 months, it just got worse.
Yeah.
And there was times where I was over in England at Chippenham, and I wouldn't be asleep until 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Because I was overthinking, I was upset, I didn't want to be there. And there was also days where I wouldn't sleep and have to go to train at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I tried to sleep, but I just couldn't because I knew that it wasn't for me, and I knew it wasn't what I was going to do, and I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it was scary taking that step to tell people that I wasn't going to do it anymore, because my family had invested so much into me that was really, really scary.
I can imagine.
And when I did eventually tell my family, I remember my grandparents said, look, we'll come over, we'll have a chat with you, you know, and see if you can stay. So they came over, we went for dinner, they were over there for about 2 days, and they convinced me to stay. They were like, look, Clive, keep going. You know what I said? Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
But you really do know that when your head is not in it, people will convince you, but it's not permanent.
Yeah.
So that morning when they were leaving and they came to say goodbye to me, I had my bags packed without telling them.
Wow.
And they came to my dorm room and my bags were packed, and they said, Cole, what are you doing? I said, I'm coming home. And I remember my granddad, I've never seen him cry before, but he started crying. My nanny started crying, and I started crying, but I was only crying because he was crying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, look, that's a lot of people don't know that. They just see a kid that gave up on his dream way too early, but it was long gone well before I did take that step.
Yeah, that's interesting because, you know, exactly what you say, right? There's a lot of people, not only in football but in different things, right? Be college, be schooling, that you do it even though you don't want it, for the sake of your parents, for the sake of your family, right? Ultimately, it's to please other people, but not yourself. And which is brave. I think it's very brave. Some people look at that as selfish, because you might think, other people might think, yeah, but what about your family? What about all these people that invested time into you, right? But tremendously, you've turned that around, and you're doing pretty well for yourself, which is fantastic, and your family should be proud. But irrespective of that, as I said, it was just the individual that you were as a whole, how you think, how your thought pattern was, that any parent will be proud anyways, right? So you've done well for yourself on that side. What helped you grow, right? Because when you say you were different to other people, and it's important, like, at what age did you discover you were different, or what things did you do that kind of enhanced you as a person or changed how you thought compared to other people?
I was always into self-improvement. Even at 7, 8, I was reading self-improvement books. I'd look at podcasts on Spotify. You know, I just, as a 7-year-old, all you just search up is how to make money, or how to be an entrepreneur, you know. So I was always learning, whether it was good information or bad information. I was interested in learning, you know. And then when I went into school, I think school was when I really knew, because everyone else was going to fields drinking at 14, and for me, I was going home to train, and I was up before school at 5, 6 a.m. to train, and I always knew that I'd be different. And even when I took that step away from football, I knew I'd achieve something great in life, and I still do feel like there's something even better for me in life, and I feel like that's coming soon. I really do feel like that there's something that's going to change my life even more than my life has already changed. I just have that feeling, and I've always knew that I wouldn't be like a normal person. that would just kind of go to college and get a job. Although there's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
I've just always knew that there was more for me, even from, like I said, 7 or 8 when I was listening to those podcasts, reading
Yeah.
those self-improvement books.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic thing, right? Because most people don't see that concept, or they don't visualize that for themselves, right? I was similar when I was 20. I think 2021, I dropped out of college, and when I did that, my mum was like, what are you gonna do now? I said, look, I'll figure it out eventually. But like that, I had that good feeling that I'm gonna be somebody. And even though it didn't show in the times that I was living in, I didn't have any money, I didn't have a lot of resources, but I believed in it, that eventually I'll become something. And long down the line, other things happened, you know what I mean, I progressed, and I am who I am today. So that's fantastic. But what advice do you give to other people that fall under those pressures, right? Because there's people that they crumble under that pressure of family or friends and follow the thing that they don't want to do. From your perspective, and why I ask you, because you're a young man, I think it's important for young people to understand the importance of taking bold decisions. That's what it requires to be successful. Not stupid decisions, but bold decisions when it comes to, something that you're not passionate about, or pursue something that you're passionate about.
Yeah, I think you really just have to listen to yourself and take advice from people who have been in your situation before. Don't take advice from people who haven't been in your shoes, who haven't, been across the waters playing. For me, who haven't been living away from home, playing football, people who want you to do good for them. A lot of times they'll tell you advice that will only ever going to benefit them in the future.
Brilliant.
But for you, you're the one that truly knows.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what other people say in terms of, Kyle, you can do it. No, I knew I couldn't. And it's that self-acceptance, it's that accountability that you have with yourself to understand and recognize that, because a lot of people would be blind to that. I knew I wasn't good enough, but a lot of people tell themselves, no, I can do this. That would have been maybe another 2 or 3 years wasted in my life.
Right.
That maybe I wouldn't have built the social media following I have. I wouldn't have had the opportunities I've had in life so far. So it's just that self-awareness and self-reflection that you need to do with yourself and be honest with yourself.
Fantastic. Self-awareness and self-reflection, those are key.
Yeah.
Those are key, and I say it right. I have a quote that I used to say, and I say, most people avoid looking at themselves in the mirror without all the makeup, without all the masks, right? So therefore, the self-reflection they do is never true. It's always false. It's these perceptions of, people say I'm this, people believe me in that, right? They may believe in their social media or whatever it is that other people say to them. But ultimately, they never know who they are themselves.
Yeah.
So the fact that you were able to do that, I think it helped you to define, this is not the path I want to go down, this is the path I want to go down.
Yeah.
So which is fantastic, and fair play to
Thank
you for that.
I really appreciate that.
So then, how did we go from football to social media? How did that transition come about?
Just like a lot of things that's happened in my life, I don't really know how it's happened. But that's the beautiful thing about life. If you know what you're going to do next week, you're not living a life worth living.
Fantastic.
I feel like every month should be different. Every month should be exciting. Every month you should try something new and try something that's going to elevate your life and make you a better person. Put your family in a better position. Put you in a better position. So if you know what you're going to do next month, you're not living an exciting life. And at that time, I didn't know what I was going to do that next month. I could have taken the decision to go into college. I could have taken the decision to just give up social media, but I didn't. So that's what's happened throughout all my life is just keeping it exciting, keeping it new, trying new things. And I think that's why I've achieved what I've achieved with all the setbacks I've had, is because no month is ever the same, and no month is ever comfortable. I'm always out of my comfort zone trying something new.
Fantastic.
But to go back to your question in terms of how did it happen, I think, like I said, I've always knew that something big will happen in my life. I always knew I'd be successful. I'm not saying I'm successful yet, because I'm not, in a way.
Some would beg to differ.
I think you have to have the personality for it as well. And like I said, like you've touched on a little bit, Tam, is I've always had the mindset. And that kind of leads into anything you do in life, whether it's talking to somebody, whether it's a job interview, whether it's social media. It's how you apply yourself in every single situation, is the outcome you're going to get from it. So I've applied myself in social media in a way that's informative, in a way that's respectful, in a way that kids are going to have an impact on their life. And also providing value and providing information that's going to change their lives from the things that I've learned and the mistakes I've made throughout my life and my career.
Brilliant. And you know what it is, in your journey, because I had the tremendous opportunity of watching your journey, right, to help you at the early stages, And then when your transitions, you know, different things that you did, you always inspired people. And even looking at the comments that you had early on when you were working towards football, right? You were inspiring a lot of people already and a lot of kids. And that's a huge testament to you. And I remember one of the things I said to you, like, this power is God given. This ability is God given, right? Because not everybody can touch people. There's so many people out there on social media, on TikTok, trying to motivate people, trying to be influencers, but they don't get that. You had an amazing effect on young people, on wherever you went, to inspire. And I think you do that. You still, you know what I mean, and everything that you're going to work on is going to continue to grow for you. That's a skill that magnifies with more projects, with more opportunities. You'll continue to be that light everywhere you go. It's a fantastic thing. So it was refreshing for me to see that you were doing that early on. When you kind of took that transition, I was worried that that's something that, you know, would fade, something that you might not go back to. But again, what you've done now has been even more inspirational. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of people that contact you and say how inspiring it is. From that perspective, I suppose, you know, what advice do you give to the younger generation, right? Or somebody who's looking to get into the social media aspect and become an influencer, because that's something a lot of people want to do now. And maybe they see the fun stuff, but how much work goes into that?
Yeah, so I've been doing social media now for, I'd say, 3.5 years, going on 4 years in April. And it's only this month last year when things really started to take off. So if you think about it, I was doing social media for 2.5 years, every day, without the results that maybe would have been reflected the work I put into it. So for 2.5 years, I was doing it for just out of the love of doing it and helping people. And I think you need to have that in social media. You need to genuinely love doing it and love helping people. If you're going into it for the fame, for the money, you're not going to be successful at it, because like any business, it's a long-term game. You have to continue to do it. And the beautiful thing with social media is, if you continue to do it, there's no way that you can't fail, because the numbers keep going up. If you do something every single day forever, eventually over that time span, something's gonna click, and you're gonna be successful at it. So it's just about loving it and doing it every day, being consistent with it, and picking something that you're good at, and then doing it every single day. But like I said, it's a long game. You really have to understand that and love it, because if you don't love it, you're not going to stick at it.
Okay, fantastic. And what do you say to those people then? Because some just, they see the money, they see the glitz, they see the glamour, and that's what they want, right? So for those type of people, I suppose it'd be similar, right? What advice would you offer to those people, in terms of their desires for it? What's the best way for them to approach it?
I don't know, to be honest, Tim, because I've never been that type of person. I've always wanted success in a way that's going to benefit other people.
Fantastic.
Whether that's family, whether that's friends, or whether that's strangers online. It's never been about myself. I think that's why I've achieved a nice little bit already. Because it's never about me. And if everything's about you, you're never going to be successful, because you're always going to be in your own head. But when it's for other people, you do take that extra little step. And that's what I've done through everything in my life with football, because I've been doing it for so long. Even when I knew it wouldn't happen, it was for my family, for my friends, to put my family in a better position, not just me. And that's the same thing with social media. I think I've never been in that situation where it's been for myself, so I can't really answer that time. I don't know.
No, that's fantastic, because you touched upon something important. You spoke about a reason why, right? And that's something I learned many years ago. It was, you know, when you're doing anything, you need to have a strong and compelling reason why you do it. And you just said that it's about family. It's about putting your family in a better position. If it's yourself, it's easy to quit. But if it's for other people, it's much more difficult for you to give up, because you're carrying their weight on your shoulder, right?
Definitely.
Is there a lot of pressure on you as a young man? Have you felt a lot of pressure?
Yeah, definitely. But I think there needs to be a little bit of pressure, whether that's from external sources or from yourself, because a lot of people nowadays, especially this generation, are too comfortable. I feel like if you're too comfortable, you're not going to go that extra length. You're not going to try new things, because if you're comfortable in your situation, you're comfortable. Why would you try something different? You know, if I'm constantly being pressured to, you know, be successful, I'm going to go the extra mile, even when I feel like I can't. My granddad is 72 and he's still making stairs and fitting stairs. That to me I want to be able to retire him soon.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big motivating factor for me. You know, he goes to bed at 7 o'clock, and I'd love nothing more for him to wake up the next day whenever he wants and do what he wants at 72. You know, that's a big reason why. So yeah, it's just about other people and the position that I know I will put them in.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
Fantastic. Dipping away from that, because I know the process. Any journey to success is always a difficult journey, right? There's many obstacles that you're gonna face. It's not all uphill all the time. Sometimes going up that hill you're gonna fall. You're gonna cut yourself. You're gonna take a wrong turn and get lost before you find the right path again to go up the hill. How has your mental health been throughout the entire process of your journey? Because that's always an interesting factor, right?
It's definitely been a roller coaster. But touching on what I said before, if it's not a roller coaster, you're not doing something right.
Yeah.
If you're always in a good position mentally, then you're either not challenging yourself, or you're not pushing yourself to make more money, to do more things, to start a new business. Because with starting something new, starting something scary, starting something that can really do well, comes stress.
Yeah.
Comes stress, comes failures, but also comes success.
Yeah.
So, you know, with those failures, with those success, of course your mental health would fluctuate, but it was especially tough over in England. And I feel like when I was playing football over there, it came to a point where I didn't know how to tell people that I had to step away from it.
Right.
That it came to a point where I didn't even want to be here anymore in a way. And I remember I woke up one morning and I said that to myself. I said, I don't want to be here anymore.
Right.
How can I end my life? And that's when I knew. That's when I was sitting at the edge of my bed at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was crying. And I picked up the phone, and I rang my mum, and I was just like, "Mum, I can't do this anymore." And you know, she was very comforting to me.
Yeah.
But it was at that time where I knew that my life was in danger, that I really did have to take that step. But since then, it's never been to that scale.
Yeah.
You know, I've kind of learned how to deal with failures a lot better. But that was just such a big stress on me in football, because it was who I was.
Yeah.
And I didn't know after stepping away from football, would my identity be gone? Because football was basically called Cooke. It was my identity.
Yeah.
Who would I be then? You know, so it's fluctuated, but you know, like I said, in the last 2 years, I've dealt with it a lot better. But it's good. It's good in a way. It's good that some days I wake up stressed. I'm not making enough money. I'm not doing enough things. I like that in a way.
No, absolutely. Look, it makes us stronger. Right?
Yeah.
Every time I've spoken to any young person that's going through difficulties, be depression, be anything. There's a client I work with, a young guy, and he was on antidepressants, right? And the same thing I tell people. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, you can cry. Yes, you can complain. But you keep moving, right? Because it's centered. Those challenges are centered to test you, to make you stronger. And if you realize that it's difficult in the moment to understand that, look, this is going to make me stronger, this is going to pull me away from the wrong path, but long term it aligns you that way, right? Because if you didn't go through all those processes, and I say this, it's a weird concept I have, and I say there are certain changes in your life that God will force to make, right? Because if he left the option to you, you're not going to do it. If he told you, Kyle, I want you to step away from football at the time that you're happiest, it's not going to happen. So he has to bring a certain amount of chaos, a certain amount of problems to you that will push you to go down a different path. And most times people in those times when there's so much problems going on, they think that's everything. And some people do end their lives, right? Fortunately, you didn't. I've been in that situation as well. Fortunately, I didn't. But what happens to other people is they buy into that, and that becomes their identity. They live in that darkness, and they don't realize that if they just keep walking down the road, the light is going to open up. They'll find a different opportunity. So which is fantastic. I'm glad to hear that you shared that, because that's an important one for young people now to understand.
Definitely. There's a lot of pressure with young people with football, especially.
But you think it's just football or in life in general for young people?
Yeah, life. Yeah. Of course, life. You know, I work with a lot of footballers, so I can only kind of really speak from that experience. But even at camps, I do a lot of camps during the school holidays, and their parents will be there. And if their kid makes a mistake, they're like, Harry, you know, and it's like you're instilling that pressure into a 7-year-old. And how is that child going to be when they're 17? They're going to be looking at the sideline. Is mum or dad here?
Yeah.
You know, and if they are, then they're like, oh no, I have to perform.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think there needs to be a certain level of pressure, but not to a certain point where it's gonna harm the child.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But see, the difficulty I think is because there's so much money involved in football, right? Because there's so much money involved, every parent thinks that's their jackpot, and they're putting all of those pressures on their kid. They think that, you know, the kid getting a contract solves their mortgage problems. It gets them the new car. It gets them the retirement plan, right?
Yeah.
But essentially, they're taking the fun out of that for their kids, which is a valuable point. So how do kids deal with that, right? Because more times I can't come to you and tell you, look, hey, go easy on your kid. That's not fun, right? What would you advise to young kids? Because there may be some young kids watching this, 15, 16. If they feel that overwhelming pressure, what can they do?
You know what? I had a mum text me on Monday, and she said to me, Colin, my son is only 12, and he got into the Kerry Academy, but he's just been dropped after being there for 2 months.
Right.
I don't know how to deal with this. You know, his confidence is so low. What do I do? Do I be hard on him? Do I comfort him? She said, I don't know what to do. I said, Wednesday 9 o'clock, let's hop on a call. And I hopped on a video call with her and her son.
Yeah.
And the son was only 12, and he was saying that he feels like he's not good enough. Right. And I'm saying, at 12, if a kid is not feeling good enough, what has society come to in terms of raising their children to be successful? If a 12-year-old is feeling that type of pressure, that's just ridiculous.
Absolutely.
A 12-year-old should be enjoying going out to the park, playing football with their friends. They should be enjoying going to the cinema or going over for sleepovers. Why is it at this certain time in the world that kids feel that certain pressure to be successful? Does it come down to the parents? Does it come down to, you know, the media?
There's a couple of elements, right? And I think from my observation and people that I've worked with, there's a couple of elements. You've got the parents adding their own pressures of life onto their kids, right? So because when they see a kid talented, ultimately the lights go off in their heads and they think, if I push him, if I do this, he's going to make it here. And the success that they didn't have, they ultimately want their kid to have.
Yeah.
But they apply that pressure onto their kid that sucks the fun out of them.
Yeah.
Media is another dangerous weapon for kids, right? Because kids now are competing on social media where this kid's parents may be wealthy and he's got all the new stuff and this kid doesn't. And media portrays a lot of fake images where even young kids now are pretending to be famous, you know, wealthy and all of these things. Yeah. So there's a lot of factors that pressure into kids. But as I say to people, be a kid. You know what I mean? I had that issue with my younger brother, and he came to me at one point and he said, "Oh, I'm not going to be to the levels of you and Hermo. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm going to be ever like yous." Or there was a situation and my mother basically told him, you know, your brothers were smart and you're not. Essentially, because he was misbehaving so much. Okay. But I said to him, just be a kid. I said, it doesn't matter what anybody else said, ignore that. Just go be a kid. You know,
I still feel like a kid. I'm 20, I'm 21 next month, and I still feel like a kid, and I still dream like a kid. Brilliant. And that's why I feel like I'm constantly achieving new things and achieving things that, you know, are quite good. Because I still have that imagination. Brilliant. That I once had at 12 years old, at 11 years old. And I think that's important to constantly have that vision and have that imagination as a kid. Because as a kid, your imagination is limitless.
It's endless.
You know, kids imagine things that, you know, would put things into perspective for you. So you know, I've learned a lot of things off kids, from just their thoughts and how they see the world. And I feel like I still have that imagination and the vision and where I feel like I can go. And I think, you know, it's good because it puts joy into me. It puts happiness into me, and like I once did at 12.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't lose that.
No.
That's an incredible spark. Yeah. It's a creative spark that most people let die out. Definitely. So don't lose that. That will definitely serve you major ways. So what does Kyle's life look like now? Well, what's a day to day in Kyle's life right now at the moment? How much work is involved? How much business is involved? And how much time for yourself is involved?
Do you know what? Over the summer, it was very chill. It was holidays. It was I went over to play for Ireland in the six-a-side World Cup in Germany. Nice. In Essen.
I've seen that.
Which was really good, a really good experience. And you know, I came back and I was doing social media full time, and I was enjoying it. But I felt like there's something more. I felt like I needed to do something new, and I felt like there was more to life than just doing kind of the social media.
Yeah.
And I made the decision, again, a very bold decision, to get a job, to get a full-time job, and I'm now working in a factory as well as doing social media. But the kind of thought process behind that was, if I can double my income, I'm doubling the time that I can invest into certain things.
Absolutely.
I'm doubling the work, I'm doubling the experiences, and I'm also doubling the speed as to which I can start new things.
Absolutely.
Because money ultimately is what makes the world go around.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you know, from doing social media full time, would feel like then going into a job is them going backwards.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm going forward.
Strategic.
Because I'm now making more money, and I'm now saving and building a future, because every cent that goes into my bank account right now is just, I know that in a couple of years it's going to be 100x, 200x.
Yeah.
But I think that it's important for me to do that, because if I used to continue to do social media full time, I wouldn't have as much money in 2 years, you know. So yeah, and I've been enjoying it. You know, I've been enjoying doing it, because I ultimately know that what's going to come from it.
You've a solid discipline and a solid mindset, in the sense of when you're working towards something, you're not so concerned about external opinions. Am I correct?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's important, because whenever you start something new, you start something bold, you start something different. It's going to be everyone that's going to doubt you. You know, with the football, when I started it, people doubted it. When I started to get a little bit successful at something, people are supporting it. But then when you get too successful, people go back to hating.
Absolutely.
And I've experienced that with football and with social media.
Right.
At the start, you get to hate. When you start to be successful, people are clapping, well done. But then when you're doing better than everybody else, people don't like it.
Yeah.
People don't like it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because your success highlights their weaknesses.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Your success highlights their failure, because they're like, I knew this guy.
Yeah.
But then you're doing better than them.
Yeah.
But they don't understand why.
Even in the street, you know, when I'm walking in town,
Yeah.
you'd get the people that, you know, don't like it, and you get the people that are chirping or Mr. TikTok and all that kind of stuff, and I'd always walk away from that being like, I hope he's okay.
Oh, okay.
You know, there's something going on in his life, or something has happened in his life that has made him feel like he needs to give other people hatred to make himself feel a little bit less hatred about himself. So I'm always walking away from those situations thinking, I really do hope he's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a very good way of looking at it, because a lot of people, that hate would get to them.
Absolutely.
But for me, it's empathy. And I'd love to, sometime that happens, I'd love to turn around and be like, bro, are you okay?
Yeah.
Would you like a chat?
Yeah.
Because I'd love to sit down with somebody that does feel that hatred, and actually have a chat with them and learn why they feel like that, because I think that that's a very valuable and important lesson I'd like to learn.
Oh, absolutely. See, the thing is, when you do get to those conversations, hopefully you will, what you tend to find is people don't know. They don't know you, right? They made assumptions about you, or maybe they heard a silly rumor from somebody, right? It's like we sit in a group of friends, and one of the friends might say, oh, that guy is this, he's that, because they have that jealousy. And sometimes people embody that. So when somebody sees you, they don't know you, but based on a story they heard from somebody else, they pass judgment upon you. And again, another part is just envy, right? It's envy. What people try to do, I've realized this, and this is advice actually I can give to you, right? What you have to be, I wouldn't say careful of, but be cautious, especially the people that you let in so close to you, right? Because the people that are closest to us, sometimes what they do, when they see how great you are and they can't comprehend that, they try and normalize you. In their own mind and in their own way, they try and normalize you so that you can be on the same level as them, right? And ultimately people do that in so many ways, by trying to down talk you, by trying to, you know, downplay who you are, but you're a gifted individual. Most people are not equipped to handle gifted individual, or to deal with superstars, right? And be with that. And when I say a superstar, it's not just people, but you have that aura, you have that about you, right? So it's difficult for certain people, and what they do is they try to normalize you. That's all it is, right? Because they can't comprehend your level of success. They can't comprehend how you operate. They just can't. It doesn't make sense to them. So essentially, they try to minimize you so that you become normal to them, and then it's okay for them. It's now a safe place that they're like, oh, okay, I don't have to stretch myself, right? Me and him are now on the same level. And it's dangerous because it happens in relationships. You know what I mean? If you choose the wrong partner, they'll do that to you, incredibly. So be cautious of that. And the wrong friend groups will do that to you as well. Good friends are the ones that will inspire you, and then look, as you said, everybody else, you just have to have empathy. And I like the fact that you say that, because other people would choose anger. But why do you choose empathy for other people and not anger? Not saying, oh, well, I hate them too.
Because they obviously have something inside of them that makes them feel worthless, that makes them feel like they can't achieve something great in life. And that might not be because of them. That might not be their fault. That might be the upbringing that they've had. That might be some trauma that's caused that in their family or in their life growing up. That's not their fault. So that's not actually them. That's just the circumstances and the situation that they've grown up in.
Yeah.
So why would you feel anger towards something that's not their fault? You know, so that's why you should feel empathy, because it's not always them. And in certain situations, yes, it might be. But when someone's just giving you hate, you know, 90% of the time, it's not because of them. It's because of the upbringing and the circumstances that they've lived around. So it's not them. And I think people should dig a little bit deeper into that as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'd love to sit down and have a chat with somebody that's giving me a little bit of hate, and just learn from them, because it's a very valuable experience.
Absolutely. It's a powerful insight for a very young man, Colin, at the age of 20, to have that type of insight. I think a lot of people watching this will agree and will say you're wise way beyond your years. Beyond your years.
I appreciate that.
And I see nothing has changed, because how old were you when we started working together? 17?
16, 17.
16, 17, and back then your mindset was powerful, and it's just as powerful now.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see, and I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. And I feel like my life could have went one of two ways.
Yeah.
Stepping away from football. I feel like I could have, like with anything in life, every decision, like anything in life, your happiness is shaped on how you perceive every single situation that happens in your life.
Yes.
If you wake up in the morning, you drop a coffee, you've got one or two ways to react to it. You can react to it by laughing and like, I'll stick on another one, or it is what it is, it happens. Or you can be angry, I'm going to be late for work, or like, why does that have to happen to me now? That's your whole day either made or ruined. So everything is a conscious decision, everything is a choice. And stepping away from what was my life, which was football, my life could have went one of two ways. I could have went down that route of hatred. I could have went down that route of jealousy, of doing drugs, drinking alcohol every weekend. But I knew that my destiny was a choice. My destiny was greater than that. I was more successful than that. So I made that. Thankfully, I made the choice to continue to pursue something great in life, and that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I don't know what I'm going to do in 2 years, in 5 years, which is amazing. It might not be social media. It might be something else, but that's completely okay. Because I know that whatever I do or whatever I start, I'm going to put absolutely 100% into it. And everything I've done that I put 100% into, I've been successful at it, or partly successful at it. So when I do start something new, I will be partly successful at it or successful at it, because that's just who I am and the type of person that I am. I won't stop until I get it, basically, or until I know I can't.
Yeah, and I have no doubt. I have no doubt, honestly, because, as you said, partially, but from where we're standing, you're pretty successful. At a very young age, at the age of 20, pretty successful.
Thank you.
One of the most recognised names in the country, amongst a couple of influential people. So I think you're doing pretty well. You've done incredibly well for a young man at 20. Use those successes to keep pushing you on further. Definitely you will, which is exciting. So I suppose as we're getting to our close, right? What advice would you have? Firstly, we'll go with footballers. Well, footballers, generalise it, to be honest, for footballers and anybody as a whole, that's pursuing a dream or pursuing something. What advice would you have for them that desires more?
Keep that fire inside of you. Because the minute that fire inside fades or goes out, you need to stop trying to relight it. There's only a certain amount of times that you can relight a fire. And when it comes to a point where you can't relight that fire anymore, just stop, move on to a new fire. Because we'll move on to something that gives you that fire. Because when you're trying to relight the fire inside of your stomach for one thing, that might not be your destiny. That fire has gone out for a reason. So you need to trust that. You need to accept that. But I think it's staying true to yourself, continuing to work hard, because when you work hard at something, there's no reason why you can't be successful at it. And you might work hard at 10 things and fail, but the 11th thing might be that one thing that that changes your life.
Absolutely.
So it's always been self-reflective and self-assessed. Is looking at everything you're doing, and is this benefiting me? Is this benefiting my future? Is this person benefiting me and benefiting my future?
Yeah.
So it's really self-awareness, self-reflection, and being honest with yourself, and also being kind to yourself, because everyone develops at different rates. Everyone is successful at different rates.
Yeah.
Everyone does different things at different times. Just because somebody else is successful at a certain time doesn't mean that that's the timeline you need to have. You know, everyone has their own path. So really trust your path, trust yourself, believe in yourself, and great things will come if you just stay true to yourself, be self-reflective, and be self-assessed.
Fantastic. That is powerful. And I think on that note, I think that's a fantastic and a wonderful note for us to wrap it up with. This is one of the key discussions I was keen on having, the first person we wanted on our platform, because when I look across every other successful person in this country, I think your mindset far supersedes everybody else's, right? There's a lot of people that can talk the game, and some people just get fortunate and blessed, but as a consequence of working with you, I know that you're somebody that the work ethic is there. It's insane. When the trainings that you used to do, I thought were ridiculous how somebody was doing that much training at a high level.
Yeah.
And you set a new standard, which was absolutely incredible. And I admire that, because it inspired me, it pushed me in a lot of different directions as well. So not only are you inspiring young people, but even somebody who taught you, you're now teaching me. So which is inspiring. We've launched our programs, the Archive Consultancy programs, and we offer mentorship and business consultancy. Having worked with ourselves in the past, and somebody who's been mentored by myself when it comes to personal development and mindset development, any sort of, I suppose, your own feedback, right?
Yeah.
Your own feedback, just give a bit of advice to people on, you know, what were your benefits from taking the program with ourselves, and would you recommend it? And be truthful. If you wouldn't, say it. If you would, do. I think it's an important one with the work that we're doing for people to understand it.
Yeah, no, Tim, I think that you are what you see. You know, I think the knowledge and the mindset that you have, you know, it had a massive impact on me growing up, you know, because although I've always had that kind of fire inside of me, you've taught me things that I wouldn't even know now, you know, and this mindset is partially because of you, you know, and you should take pride in that and be proud of yourself for that, because, you know, it's really been beneficial for my football career, but also my life. So you've had a massive impact on me, and I generally couldn't recommend your program enough to anybody, because you've been probably more influential in my life than you think.
Wow. Yeah. No, well, look, I give all the credit back to you, because do you know what it is I say to myself when I look at ourselves, right, what we do, and I think it's important for leaders, right? This is a message for leaders to understand. Our job is climate control, right? My job is climate control. My job is simply to set the temperature in the room warm enough for you to grow, warm enough for every idea that you have to flourish, and just add a little bit of spark in you. That's what I do for everybody, right? And that's what leadership is. You're serving people and creating a good environment for people to grow. It can't be too cold, it can't be too hot, it has to be right. So we look at that temperature control and the value that we offer and the advice and different tips, but ultimately the work comes back to you. So we were blessed to have worked with you. I'm truly blessed to have worked with you. That's because you were an inspiring young man, and the success that you've achieved, look, I'm glad I could have been a small help in that direction to push you towards it. From me and the entire team, all the guys that you know we work with, and we wish you nothing but the best. It's been a pleasure having you on our platform, and we look forward to seeing you continue to succeed and reach the highest class.
Thank you, bro. I look forward to it as well, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.